So this particular trip to Las Vegas was actually for my birthday. We usually go for my birthday, my wife's birthday, random occasions, weekends, holidays, days ending in Y. Pretty much anytime we have time to go, we definitely will travel there. So for this particular trip, we used a number of our comps. So for the first night, we stayed in Aria for just one night. We kind of wanted to check the hotel out, see how it was, and see if it was worth all the hype. Since we got in a little bit later, we actually didn't have a whole lot of time in the Aria. Plus, I don't know, I mean, we're not old, but we're older, and the vibe of the Aria was kind of, I guess, a little bit younger than we were expecting, so neither my wife or I really played as much as we normally would play in the Aria. We kind of just wanted to rest and prepare for the following day, which was going to be the big day of our trip. So on our second day, we woke up. We were actually kind of excited to leave the Aria and head over to the Cosmo. It's a hotel we stay at very frequently, so we were both kind of just ready to get the next day going on and start our day, which happened to be my birthday. So we got checked into the hotel, and my wife's appointment was at 10 o'clock. So she was supposed to have her hair, nails, and makeup all done, which was going to take a number of hours, about 5 or 6. Unfortunately, we got to the airport when we left, and I left the garment bag at home. And there was a lot of dresses that we had been shopping for the last couple of months, because she didn't know that I had some things planned. So unfortunately, when we landed, we didn't have any dresses for her other than a couple kind of casual ones. So what she didn't know was that after I dropped her off at the Cosmo, I spent the next 4.5 hours speed walking through Las Vegas trying to find the exact perfect dress. It spent 2 months shopping for dresses, and no dress other than the perfect dress was gonna suffice for the birthday dinner night, because I had a few tricks up my sleeve. So I get back to the Cosmo just in time to meet my wife as she was getting situated in the bedroom, and as soon as I got to the hotel room, I got a message from the Turo driver that they were going to be arriving in about 15 minutes. So they were about an hour early, which worked out pretty well, but I had to basically tell my wife she looked beautiful, because she did, and then kiss her and run downstairs and get this car that she didn't know I was going to get. So the Turo driver had dropped the vehicle off with me downstairs, and then I took delivery of the car, drove it back around through valet, and then ran back up to the room so we can get ready for our evening. I originally had a friend who lives in Las Vegas who's also a photographer. I had planned on having him meet me, and we're going to do just a small 30-minute photo session throughout the Cosmo on our way out. And she didn't know about that either, but unfortunately schedules didn't line up, so I ended up borrowing a friend's camera and snapping a few photos while I could. And then we walked down to the valet, which she obviously at this point knew something was up. And the valet comes around the corner with my car, which, as you can see here, it's a Aston Martin Vantage. This was kind of a way of spoiling both myself and my wife, and it's also part of the whole plan was to have a very James Bond type of evening dinner show. So that's the reason that I put so much effort and emphasis into picking her dress and getting her nails and makeup done. And our reservations were right next door at the Bellagio in the Prime Steakhouse. But because we were going kind of full bougie, we drove from the Cosmo to the Bellagio, which is right next door. My wife and I are both big fans of steakhouses, so we try to go to nice steakhouses once or twice a year when we go to Vegas. We hadn't tried Prime yet. We've tried a number of other top-notch steakhouses, so figured with the view and it being in the Bellagio next door, it worked out very well for our schedule. We had a show to see a few hours after the dinner, so it worked out. The wait staff was very nice. We did end up getting the patio seating. Unfortunately, we were kind of seated behind some shrubs, so the view wasn't great for her. I'm tall enough I could see over them, but other than that, there wasn't really anything to complain about for our seating. It was a little bit overcrowded, as one would expect at the Bellagio fountains, but we placed our orders for our drinks and appetizers and enjoyed our view. My wife got her usual espresso martini. She enjoyed it. I tried it and I enjoyed it as well. I think I rated it a little bit higher than she did, but all in all, it was still a strong, solid performance. For my drink, I got my usual, an old-fashioned. This one was it was really good. It had great flavor. It wasn't super strong. Didn't really burn your palate. So I don't know if they just used a like an aged whiskey or bourbon, or just were light-handed with it. But either way, it was perfect for my taste preference. The bread we got was all pretty good. They gave us a variety of 3 with a pretzel bun that was really good, great pretzel flavor. There was a breadstick style one that was also really good, kind of firm on the outside. And then there's like a bun style one that didn't have good flavor, but it was very, very good texturally. My wife got the lamb for her main dish. I had gotten lamb the previous year at Craft Steak at MGM, and that was absolutely phenomenal. So had high hopes for this. Unfortunately, the allure kind of didn't last past the crust. Seasoning wasn't super great on it. There's a lot of fat and gristle on the lamb itself, so much of it was actually kind of inedible almost. I just think maybe it was a poor cut that wasn't seasoned very well, and then the plating was kind of not great either. One of the major issues we ran into were the sides. My wife can't have anything spicy at all, so we ordered the broccoli, and on the menu it didn't show anything about as far as what it had in it. But the broccoli came, the cheese sauce was broken. You can see in the picture, you can see that it's pretty broken. But it also had mint and jalapeno, which I found the flavor very, very strange. The mint was very strong because it was like freshly chopped and on top of it. And then the jalapeno obviously came through. And then on top of all that, the broccoli was kind of undercooked. So it wasn't even like a good steamed broccoli. So I ended up eating like 1 or 2 bites. My wife didn't have any, and I didn't really get a replacement or anything. I figured I'd just move on with the rest of our meal. The other side we ordered was the crispy potatoes. On the menu, there's no descriptive words or anything, so we just ordered crispy potatoes. Unfortunately, when they came, they were actually more like a buffalo smashed potato. So think of like a potato skin, but smashed really finely, and then a ton of buffalo sauce on top of it. So when it arrived, we actually had to return it and get it without sauce because neither my wife or I like buffalo sauce. And then when they came back just dried basically potato skins with no salt, no seasoning, and they were also kind of inedible, unfortunately. For my main dish, I got the Chilean sea bass. It came with a beautiful crust, and it smelled wonderful. The plating was kind of random and sporadic, but I didn't really pay too much attention. I'm not really a stickler for plating, so... but as I was actually editing this video, I was going back through the pictures, and I looked at it, and I mean, it's weird how everything's kind of just randomly thrown on with no real purpose. But to the fish itself, despite the fact that it smelled really good, the flavor wasn't very deep at all. It's very shallow. So you would bite in, and like maybe a second or two after you bite in, the flavor is just completely gone, and you're left with a what kind of tasted like a tilapia or something pretty basic. Definitely not on par with the sea bass that I've had in the past. So since it was my birthday, they gave us 2 macarons and a nice plating candle. We usually don't order dessert, so luckily, like, we go out for nice dinners on either of our birthdays, so we get a nice free little sampler. The lemon one was really good, but the tiramisu might have been the best that I've ever had in my life. Super, super tasty. So that was our dining experience at the Prime Steakhouse in the Bellagio. The seating and ambiance wasn't bad. Like, we got the patio, so I can't complain about that, but we were kind of packed in the corner, and the tables were all pretty close to each other, so not my favorite place to sit, but the view is not too terrible. For the drinks, my wife's espresso martini was probably the favorite I've ever tasted, and my old-fashioned was really good too, so good marks there. All in all, the bread was pretty good. The pretzel was my favorite, with the bun-style one being my least favorite, but altogether they were very good. For the sides, we really had to knock them down pretty hard, because the broccoli was literally inedible for me. I had maybe one piece, and then the second order of potatoes that came back from my wife without the buffalo sauce on were dry and not seasoned at all and overcooked, and they were just not not edible either, unfortunately. Our mains, I give it a 5 out of 10, because it was middle of the pack, but for a high-end restaurant you expect it to be on the upper side, so 5 is kind of a damning number, I suppose. So our overall score for the Prime Steakhouse at the Bellagio was a 5 out of 10. It was kind of a lackluster performance. There were some high points, but the main issues were with the sides and the main dishes, unfortunately. So after dinner, we left and went to a show that my wife didn't know about. It was the Lost Spirits and Distillery rum tour seance show, but unfortunately they don't offer that anymore. But it was definitely something that's more up my wife's wheelhouse than my own, because I generally try to stay away from spooks and scares and whatnot. The Lost Spirits Distillery Tour offered a seance show, so you go to the distillery. They have a bunch of different rooms. You get rum. There's people kind of roaming around. It's a very spooky, eerie vibe in the place. There's a bunch of different variety shows, and at the end there's kind of a exclusive seance show, and I got us tickets at the seance table, which is not exactly what I wanted, but it was for my wife, so I tried to toughen up and fight through it. We were shown to our seats at the big round seance table, and then they started the show. Started with some kind of variety show style acrobatics. We weren't allowed to use our cell phones at all, so unfortunately we didn't really get much for footage. There was a Chinese hair dangling lady, I guess you would call it. She was getting spun around by her hair. They told us that they were going to commune with the dead with this old ancient device that they had. I had seen a giant doll in the rafters, and I assumed that it was going to come down at some point in the stage. So I was trying not to be afraid of that, and the lights went out. There was like lightning flashes, and I looked to the center, and I saw what I thought was a doll coming down. I looked at my wife, and she told me not to look. When I turned to look at the stage, there was a giant flash, and one of the acrobatic ladies was standing there staring at me, and I may or may not have screamed. Day 3 was going to be a busy day. We're going to do some gambling, some driving, and go to Speed Vegas, and then meet up with my mom and go to after hours event. Car was unbelievably fun, super cool, sounded great, and it just belonged on the Las Vegas Strip. So I kind of took the scenic route to where we were going, which was Speed Vegas. My wife had planned on giving me kind of a birthday gift to do some go-karts and maybe high-end racing if I wanted to. Ran into a Corvette, a few Mustangs, and actually on the freeway there was a KR GT500 Mustang, which are pretty rare. Didn't do any drag racing or anything like that, so we just continued on our way and drove out of town. Like any good husband, I alerted the authorities, and they arrived very, very quickly. So since on my actual birthday, I took my wife out to dinner. She wanted to take me out for my birthday dinner on our next night. So she surprised me with a evening at the lakeside at the Wynn. And we don't go to the Wynn very often, so it was like a double surprise, somewhere I hadn't been before. Their menu looked really good, and I'm a fan of seafood, so I was excited to see what they had to offer. As usual, the hostess and the wait staff are all very good. We never really have any issues with them. The seating was really nice. It was very pretty. It was at sundown, so there's all really good views of the water. The old-fashioned I ordered had a blood orange in it, and really good flavor, not super strong. Definitely one of the better ones I've ever had. My wife's espresso martini, she said, was the best that she'd ever had, so immediately the drinks were off the charts. The bread was served in the shape of a fish, which was very clever for a lakeside type restaurant, and it was served with a miso butter, and it was the second best bread I've ever had in my life. It was absolutely fantastic, like nearly faultless. For our sides, I got the whipped potatoes, and my wife got the crab cavatelli. The whipped potatoes were absolutely perfect. They're just how I like it, very well seasoned, small chunks. They were great. The crab cavatelli was really good, a little heavy for a side, but my wife ordered it as her main, so it worked out really well, but very good taste in that as well. For my appetizer, I got the petite greens. It had avocado in the center and roasted beets. It was the most balanced, flavorful salad I've ever had. It was very, very good, and probably one of the best salads I've ever had as well. My wife's crab cake was also the best she'd ever had, and the best I'd ever had. The pickled greens on top were perfect balance for the crunch, and the crab was flawless. The sauce was tasty. It was a home run. I ordered the Faroe Island salmon because I don't order salmon as often as I'd like to, so I usually make smoked salmon at home. My issue with the salmon was the flavor didn't really penetrate into the flesh too much, so it had a great char and a great outer seasoning, but it definitely didn't penetrate deep at all. And then it just tasted like a bland fish after like the first second of biting. My wife usually likes lobster, but we're pretty hesitant because we've had some pretty bad lobster experiences. So at the lakeside, we figured that lobster would be a good choice. Unfortunately, they were sold out of the whole lobster, and the side of lobster tail they delivered had been sitting under the heat lamp for far too long because the outer skin was kind of tough. But it had great flavor, so I try not to knock it too much. And then again, for my birthday, they gave me a free triple chocolate mini cake, and it was very decadent and chocolatey, but it was delicious. Overall, seating and ambiance was very good. We had a nice view of the TV screen on the waterfall. It wasn't too loud. It was just perfect. So it was a great atmosphere. The drinks were 10 out of 10 faultless. Both of our drinks were among some of the better ones that we'd had. The bread was also a 10 out of 10. Second best bread I've ever had in my life. And the miso butter was smooth and flavorful, and I probably could have filled up with a whole tray of loaves. For the sides, we gave it a 9 out of 10. My potatoes were amazing. The crab cavatelli was really good. Again, it was a little heavy, but other than that, it was a really, really good side, or for my wife, a main dish. The only thing that stopped this whole dining experience from being one of the best we'd ever had was the mains, unfortunately. My salmon was it was a really thick piece of meat, and I just feel the flavoring wasn't penetrated far enough. But the crust was nice, the crispy skin was good. And then for my wife's lobster tail, unfortunately she did want the full lobster, but they were sold out at 6 p.m., which seemed kind of odd. And then the lobster tail sitting under what I assume was maybe like a heat lamp kind of ruined the texture of it. But the flavor was good, so can't knock it too much. The triple chocolate cake was really good. It was small, but they put a lot of effort into it. And we saw a lot of people with the pineapple upside down cake, which looked really good. So overall, 7.5. The mains was like really the only thing that knocked the overall score, unfortunately. But we would highly recommend going to Lakeside at the Wynn. So we left the Wynn, jumped in the Aston Martin, and headed back towards the Cosmopolitan. I had got a table reservation at the barbershop speakeasy, so I was going to meet my mom and her friend, and we're going to have a fun karaoke evening there. The strip at night was absolutely wonderful. Driving with the Aston Martin at night in Vegas just felt like a dream come true. My wife and I had been to the barbershop before in the Cosmo. It's one of our favorite speakeasies to go to in all of Las Vegas. While I may not have a lot of hair on my head, I do grow my facial hair pretty quickly, so going to the barbershop to get a facial is always a good, enjoyable time. It's only like $40 and takes like maybe 45 minutes or so you kind of get pampered a little bit. The barbershop in the Cosmo is a speakeasy that you go through the barbershop to get to. It's kind of standing room only, but we usually get a table there so we don't have to stand up. And we went on karaoke night. after doing so much, we ran to our bed to sleep because it had been a long day, and we were gonna go check into the New York on the following day, and yeah, we were just exhausted. The plan for day 4 was to move from the Cosmo to the New York, turn in the Turo, go pick up my mom at the Silverton, which is where she was staying, and then do a little bit of gambling. This part of the trip, we went to Silverton Casino. We really enjoy going to this place. They have a Bass Pro Shop and usually do pretty well in gambling here. So we hung out with my mom, did some gambling, and enjoyed our time. As we were leaving, we were told that there was a Aloha Fest at Silverton, so we got a chance to get some good food, listen to some Hawaiian music, and then head back home.